Remember, guys, this podcast posts each and every single Monday. If you like Dolphins content, please go check out the channel. We do a weekly podcast on this show. We do a fan Q&A. We communicate with the community. It's a nice little thing we got going on this channel. So if you like that, please go check out the channel. All right, so let's start with the box score as we usually do. And admit, dude, it was so hard to watch this game, and I'm really going to try not to rant because I want to get to everything in this game, dude. I don't want to miss anything. I want to go through every little thing that happened in this game because that's the only thing you can really do, especially when you really, to be honest with you, you really don't look at yourself in the mirror, but you really don't do that unless you take something terrible happens like this. So this is one of those things, man. This is definitely one of the worst losses that we have taken, or I've watched in a very long time. Alright, so let's get into the box score. Let's start with the defense. Let's start with the secondary, who in my opinion played better, had a better game out of any of the other positional groups, for sure. I mess with my mic a lot, so I'm trying to make sure it's not too bad, because it obviously doesn't sound great, but I'm trying to because I'm gonna get loud in this one. Alright, so let's start with the secondary. Like I said, they probably played better than any of the other positional groups, to be honest with you. Tom Brady went 23 for 35. He completed 23 out of his 35 passes. He threw for 274 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, and he had 2 interceptions. Now, if I read that to you and you didn't know the final score, you would have been like, either we won the game or it was very close, but no. Receiving, their leading receiver was James White. He had 8 catches for 68 yards and 8.5 a catch with 1 touchdown. Philip Dorsett, who's utter garbage, had 4 catches for 55 yards and 13 yards a catch. Cordell Patterson had 1 grab for 54 yards and a touchdown. Rob Gronkowski had 4 catches for 44 yards. He averaged 11 a catch. Josh Gordon, he had 2 grabs for 32. Chris Hogan had 1 for 25. James Devlin didn't have any. And Dwayne Allen had 1 for -4. Like I said, you hold Gronk to 4 grabs for 44 yards. That's not bad, dude. That's any defensive coordinator in the National Football League would take Brady throwing 2 interceptions, even if he threw for 3 touchdowns, and they would 1,000% take 4 catches for 44 yards for Gronk. That's in my dude. Oh my god, dude. So, all right. Again, the secondary played better than any of the other positional groups. They did not play good, though. They did not play good at all. They gave up way too many yards after the catch. Their defensive line didn't help them out on 3rd and long, so I'm not going to completely blame that on them. But if somebody catches it behind the line of scrimmage, you tackle them. I don't care what the situation is. That's unacceptable. But their defensive line gave them 0 favors in this game. Obviously, they had the 2 turnovers, and they also got a lot of bad. Obviously, a lot of bad penalties were on the secondary, especially Xavier Howard. Those were some serious ticky-tack calls. I would say out of the positional group, who played the best, and who played the best on defense, to be honest with you, was Minka Fitzpatrick. They did not. He had the interception. For the most part, his man was pretty much locked up all day. The 1 pass interference penalty that was called on him was absolutely ridiculous. If you're going to call it on us, then call it on them, because that's the Patriots do that on every single game, and they don't get called consistently for it enough. So yeah. Again, everybody played terrible, so it's it's not really saying much that they played the best. Now let's get to the defensive line. The linebackers, Josh, they didn't play as bad. The defensive line is where it really all fell apart, but you would think they would play a whole lot worse than they did. I thought Kiko Alonso played okay. I didn't think he did anything terribly wrong. He wasn't egregiously bad, as the score would show. Jerome Baker made a couple plays. He also made some he kind of lost some effort there towards the end. Raekwon, I can't even really remember. I would have to go back and watch the game. But yeah, he made a nice. I think Jerome Baker. He made a couple of nice plays in coverage. He made a nice play on Dwayne Allen on a tight end screener. That was Vincent Taylor, excuse me. Yeah, so they did all right. Now let's get into the defensive line. This is where literally this is what makes me so upset. And let's start with the pass rush, which was the worst in my opinion. Not only could we not get off a block, but there was zero effort in the pass rush. There was zero bite. There was zero anything. There was no effort. There was just nothing, dude. Nothing, bro. And anytime you're getting blown out like this, I've said this a million times, but your defense is what just defensively, man. Tackling goes out of the window. Effort goes out of the window. Everything goes out of the window. But coincidentally, we lost all effort in the second quarter because our offense wasn't giving us anything. We were getting put onto the field way too much with Tom Brady on their side of the football, which is absolutely insane. You cannot do that, dude. You cannot do that with him. Way too many opportunities. Way too many opportunities. And this defensive line and this pass rush had a lot of opportunities to get off the field, and they could not do it. There was a play where Robert Quinn had gotten double teamed on the play with the guard and the tackle, and literally just stood there after that. And I'm telling you something right now, Brady could have taken off for a gain of 6 or 7 yards. That's how clean that pocket. It was like parting the Red Sea. He had such a clean pocket for the majority of this football game. And it was an absolutely lackluster effort on our defensive line's part, and they just did a terrible job. And you know what? The secondary, there was a couple plays where they had pretty decent coverage, and just Brady had too much time to throw the football. The defensive line, for me, played the worst out of any. Well, I guess not the offense. I mean, dude, they played really bad. Let's get into the run defense. Sony Michel finished with 25 carries for 112 yards. He averaged 4.5 yards a carry, and he scored 1 touchdown. James White had 8 carries for 44 yards, 5.5 yards a carry with 1 touchdown. Kenyon Barner finished with 3 carries for 11. Cordell Patterson 1 carry for 11. Brian Hoyer 3 carries for 3 minus yards. Oh, okay, because he kneeled the ball down. Let's start with this. We could not set the edge. I've never seen so many toss plays work so well. And especially in today's league where defenses are so fast and athletic, it's very hard to run a toss play in the National Football League because so many people can just outrun the blocks in space. Like, it's so hard to block in space now because of all these athletes. And we just made it look like it was the 1980s where people were just tossing it, running up the middle. They pretty much ran power running formations the entire football game, other than, an obvious passing situations or the 2-minute drill. The Patriots really never lined up in shotgun all that much. They just punched us in the face, dude. They took a page out of the Baltimore Ravens playbook and they punched us in the face. Everything was physical, dude. This was a physical football game and we could not match it. And that shows with the effort on our defense, especially in the trenches. Like, we just got beaten down physically, and that showed, man. It just showed. Like I said, we couldn't set the edge of the running game. They got the edge a lot. In terms of up the middle, it wasn't as bad as you might think it would have been, but it was pretty bad. People were like, "Oh, Sony Michel, this is his breakout game." And I don't want to take anything away from him because he's going to be a very good player, but I could have ran for a yard through some of those holes, dude. Like, it was, the defensive line just did not show up. And you know what? The defense, dude, it is what it is. I mean, nobody played well, but it's hard to play a football game when your defense at least shows up to the game and they're the most productive, especially comparing them to the offense. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, guys, guess what? The offense couldn't make it today. You guys got to play both sides of the football," because that's basically what happened in this game. I mean, the defense literally got 0 favors from the offense. And that hurts. I mean, as a defensive player, think about it this way. When your offense can't literally get a yard, and you have to go back on a 3-and-out, we're not going against Blaine Gabbert, Marcus Mariota, who's a good quarterback, Sam Darnold, who's a good rookie quarterback. or Derek Carr, who's having a actually pretty good season, this is the greatest quarterback to ever live that you're giving this many opportunities to. So, and you're not playing keep away, and your defense is constantly out there getting slammed in the running game. It's like, good luck with that, man. I mean, I could actually give the defense a relative. I could give them an excuse. They scored 21 points in the second quarter. They basically gave up early on in this game. And I do want to say this. This is the National Football League, right? You're getting paid truckloads of cash to play a game, right? I don't care if you're getting beat 50-0. That's the last thing that should happen. And now it's easy for me to say. I've never played in the National Football League. I cannot sit here and say if another man is literally running me over every single down, that I wouldn't just give up midway. I don't know, but I know that if I were to make it that far in football, then I would just be happy to play the game. It frustrates me, man. It really does. I hate seeing that, especially with my team. Obviously, we all feel ownership over this franchise, and it's very hard as a fan to see that happen to your team. It's very difficult. But yeah, overall the defense played god-awful. It was mainly the defensive line that played so bad. And the secondary, in my opinion, played better than any other positional group. So yeah, so let's get into the offensive side of the football, which is worse, believe it or not. And you know what? I think I'm going to save the passing attack for last, because that's going to be a long topic. Alright, running the football. Let's start with the running game. Frank Gore finished with 11 carries for 41 yards. Brock Osweiler finished with 1 carry for 7 yards. Kenny Drake finished 3 carries, dude, for 3 yards. Caleb Balaj 1 carry for 3 yards. Albert Wilson 1 carry for 2. Tannehill 1 carry for nothing. So this is a whole rigmarole, because there's so many things that I just don't like going in. How we call the plays, and I guess we'll get into that in the passing attack. But Adam Gase really did not have a good game plan to going into this game. And, he was complaining that we didn't have a lot of second and short, third and short situations. Well, it's because of your play calling, dude. We came out of the gate slinging the football. Kenyon Drake had 3 carries, dude. 3 carries, bro. Most of Frank Gore's carries were in garbage time, where we were literally kneeling the ball, basically, just handing it off to him constantly, right? And we just didn't run it enough. This Patriots defense, is one of the worst in the National Football League, literally bottom of the barrel in run defense, and this is what we do. Granted, our offensive line didn't give us any favors. They didn't play very well in the running game at all. They were just getting way too much penetration. Granted, you got to know your personnel. You got to know everybody on your team. We didn't, and it doesn't matter who you are, but in this particular situation, we definitely should have ran the ball more than we did. And on first down, not 2nd and 10, which we did quite a lot in this game. Not 1st and 20. Not 2nd and 20. Not in those situations. But on 1st and 10, dude. So again, the offensive line was not physical enough, which calls back to last year. The running game just wasn't there. But I do want to get schematically into this. I really do not like our run scheme at all. I don't like when we line up and run it under center. And I understand that sets up the bootleg, and that's basically the crux of the play. That sets up your play action game. And if you can get that kind of, I like that aspect of it. But we just can't run it very well, and maybe we just don't run it enough. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. But some of the run, maybe it's not even the run. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I was gonna come in as you. I was like, this run scheme really just frustrates me. Some of the pistol runs that we do, that really frustrates me. But I feel like those plays are terrible. But then you look at the game, it's like we just didn't do enough of it. Like, yeah, it's, again, you can't run the ball and lose 3 yards. That's insane. You just can't. We're not getting sacked. This is a running play. And we don't run it up the gut enough. I for sure. We don't run a lot of power runs. It's but yeah, the game plan should have been. I mean, this is one of the worst run defenses in the National Football League. they lined up with a lot of DBs to match our speed, and that's because we put ourselves in those situations, but we just didn't run the football. Danny Shelton and Malcolm Brown just gave us issues the entire game. So, we physically couldn't, 3 carries, 14 carries total for 2 players. That's ridiculous. Most of those carries came in garbage time. Just the game plan wasn't there. We should have went up there and played North football, which, the game plan was just not good enough. There were way too many times in this game. Obviously, the down distance was terrible, but way too many times in this game where they had 8 defensive backs on the field and 3-man rushes. And most of the time, dude, on a consistent basis, a lot of those times, they got sacks off of it because our offensive line was just that bad today. So yeah, again, if we just run through the offensive line really quick, they weren't physical enough up front. Too many penalties, stupid penalties, just not good enough. Literally, there was plays where we had 6 people blocking, they had 3 or 4 rushing, got through. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Dude. Let's get into Ryan Tannehill in the passing game. Ryan finished with 11 completions with 20 attempts, with 100 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Receiving, Kenny Stills finished for 3 catches for 40 yards. Danny Amendola finished 2 catches for 21 yards. Albert Wilson, 4 catches for 19 yards. Jakeem Grant, 2 catches for 17 yards. Frank Gore, 2 catches for 16 yards. Kenny Drake, 1 catch for 13 yards. Mike Gesicki, 1 catch for 9. So let's get into Ryan's performance. I think some of the stupid things that people are saying about him are stupid. I feel like some of the things that people are saying about him make no sense, in my opinion. But I do feel like there were some shortcomings in this game, for sure. Most of the time, there was, again, the receivers just... how about I know we got a bunch of small people on this, especially with the lineup that we had out there at that particular time, but dude, hit the weight room. If you can't get off the dang line of scrimmage, then what are you doing on my offense? That's just honestly ridiculous. But let's talk about Ryan right now. There were way too many times where he had a quick release and he got rid of the ball quickly. He needs... But again, it's hard to say what I'm about to say because there were so many bad plays overall as a team. But there were also plays, like I just said, he had a quick release, and there's a couple times this year that he's done that. That he needs to hold on to the ball a little bit longer and make some plays with his legs. And I feel like there was a couple times in this game where he did that. One of the Patriots really struggle on defense, especially because they're in our man-to-man scheme, is if they face an athletic quarterback who can also throw the football. Cam Newton, who's never lost to them in his career. Aaron Rodgers. Now, Ryan Tannehill has that type of athleticism, and I'm not even joking around. He needs to make them pay for some of those yards. If he snaps the ball and there's nobody looking at him because it's man-to-man, and you know that we're getting killed, then you need to make a play. You need to be a playmaker and make something happen yourself. And he just didn't do a good enough job of that. Like I just said, he needs to understand. He plays the quarterback position like it's supposed to be played, if that makes any sense. He needs to be more spontaneous. He needs to be more creative within this offense to make plays. He needs to sense when the offense needs a spark. He needs to do some of those things for this offense. He did none of that today. And I feel like that's a fair criticism of him in this particular game. Is he needs to understand those things. And like I said, and sometimes Ryan falls into that playing the quarterback position the right way. Which, hey, man, there's a lot of quarterbacks that did that in NFL history. You talk about Peyton Manning, you talk about Tom Brady. They always make the right play, right? But sometimes you've got to go out. You've got to go out of that and make a play for your team. And he just didn't do that today. He just did not do that today. There wasn't a touchdown to Kenny Stills, a perfect throw over to Malcolm Brown. There wasn't rolling out against the Bills in 2016 and making a dime of a throw, buying time for your offense and buying time for your receivers to get open down the field to make it one heck of a throw. I can name 1,000 more plays like that he's made in his career. There just wasn't any of that. And a great example of that is when we played New England in 2016 on the road, where we almost came back in the game. He took over. He was a huge part of us scoring. Mainly the only part why we scored 24 points and should have came back in that game. There were plays in that game. He tricked Patrick Chung, dude. He literally ran over Patrick Chung in that game. There were plays where he rolled out. There were plays where he extended the plays. Again, granted, there were people getting open in that game. Don't get me wrong, but he made better plays in that game. So yeah, that's probably my biggest criticism of Ryan. Is just what I just said. So yeah, let's move on from that. Let's get into the receivers. They didn't do a good job. They didn't do anything. To be honest with you, they did not get off man press at all. They struggled with that. Kenny Stills has been criticized for that his entire career, and obviously look at him. He's 140 pounds, probably soaking wet. Danny Amendola, he's a slot receiver. His job is to get open on man-to-man defense. Albert Wilson, non-existent. And again, a lot of that had to do with the game plan. We were super one-dimensional. There was no threat of a running game. And there was no misdirection. There was no any of that. There was just, okay, we know what you're doing. And it's hard to do the football when a team is coached as well as they're coached. And obviously they had a good game plan. So that leads us to Adam Gase. Dude, I've lost my train of thought, dude. I felt like the game plan was very poor. I didn't feel like we just didn't do enough, dude. And I feel like he should have come into that game knowing that we were going to have to run the football to win it. When you look at any time we beat the New England Patriots, we always have a really good running game. I'm not even joking around. Look at every single time we beat them in the Ryan Tannehill era. Maybe 2013 and 2014 when we beat them. I would have to look up the stats, but I don't remember Lamar Miller really going off in those games. I could be wrong, but the not 2014. I'm thinking of 2015. Whatever year it was where Dan Campbell was our head coach. You know what I'm talking about. Those are the only real exception to the rule. And in those games, by the way, Devontae Parker stepped up. He had over 100 yards receiving, and obviously in 2016 we didn't. Matt Moore just, oh god. But what was I even talking about? Oh yeah, we knew anytime the Patriots get beat, they always get the run defense is always terrible. The Eagles game in the Super Bowl, they were not one-dimensional. I mean, if Nick Foles had to pass, if he had to drop back and pass every down and there was no threat of the running game, they would have lost. That's football 101, dude. And we didn't run it enough. We 14 attempts total. That's not enough between two people. We have Frank Gore and Kenyon Drake in the backfield. Let them touch the football, dude. They're talented people. The game plan was very poor. Very poor, dude. And the rebuttal to that would be, hey, we didn't do good enough job running the ball in terms of run blocking. Okay. That doesn't mean you have to abandon it, especially doing it 14 times. And like I said, Frank Gore, most of those carries were in garbage time when the game was already out of hand. I mean, and you knew that wasn't in the game plan going up there. You know it wasn't. Or we would have ran the ball more. So it just was a poor game plan. Early on in that game, we would have ran the ball more. We didn't. We came out throwing the football. And when we did, like I said, it was on 2nd and 10. Also, one more thing I wanted to point out. I mean, this game was an absolute trash fire, dude. This was terrible. Like I said, most of their points were scored in the second quarter. From there, they only scored 14 the rest of the game, which is like, they scored 14, which is... But Adam has got to stop. And this is not just Adam. This is a lot of coaches in the National Football League. Adam has got to stop throwing screens on 3rd and long. Stop it. Stop it. Seriously. Listen, I love Tannehill. I love him to death. I really do. I feel like he's a franchise quarterback. And if I'm a coach and I do believe that, and I'm not saying Adam doesn't believe, it's not the point I'm trying to make. He knows he's a franchise quarterback. And again, this is common in the National Football League, believe it or not. The Patriots do it all the time, but they just are better at executing screens than anybody else in the National Football League. We just suck at it, and it's stupid. Let me get to my point. 3rd and long, especially against the Patriots, dude, we need to move the ball. We cannot punt it, right? So give Tannehill a chance to pick it up, man. We never do that with him, and that's a dang shame. And that's play calling. That's not on Tannehill. And I don't want anybody in the comment section below to say, "Oh, that's because he doesn't believe." That's not true, dude. That's just his offense. Go back and look at the tape with Peyton Manning and with Jay Cutler. They did the same thing. I'm not saying Jay Cutler's a franchise quarterback, but Peyton Manning is. And Adam Gase coached that team, and they threw 55 touchdowns. So, amen. It is what it is, dude. But he's got to stop doing that. He's got to stop screening on 3rd and long. He has to stop running on 2nd and long. He's always complaining about we're not good enough on 1st down. Okay. Then why on 2nd and 10 are you running the football up the middle? How about trying to get some of that back? Be more aggressive, dude. I understand this is a quick passing game. But this offense is very capable, and Tannehill is very capable of pushing the ball down the field. We just don't do it enough. We need to do it more, and we just don't do it enough, in my opinion. We're not aggressive enough in those situations. And the play calling and the execution is very, very poor in those situations. And again, the game plan was just not there. It was non-existent, dude. It was a non-existent. You have to listen, dude. A part of playing them is you have to keep him off the dang field. You have to control the time of possession. That's a very big part of winning against Tom Brady. You've got to. I don't care who you have at the quarterback position, man. This is stuff that we should have known. He's beat them doing that when Kenny Drake had over 100 yards rushing. It just didn't make any dang sense. I just don't know how we go into that game doing what we did. I don't understand that. We have 20 some odd years of tape on how to beat him and how teams have beaten him. We've done it in Miami many times, dude. Ask Tannehill how we did it. He's done it. We just didn't do that. Again, on offense, we didn't control the time of possession. We didn't run the football not just because we couldn't do it, but we just didn't call it. And on defense, didn't get pressure with our front four. Our secondary, there were times where they did defend well. It was just our our defensive line couldn't get the job done. And that's the story of this game, ladies and gentlemen. Bad game plan on offense. Defensively, didn't do enough. Didn't do enough. Just the defensive line was non-existent. Alright, let's get into news. And you know what? These are things we have to change, in my opinion. We just have to change those down and distance, the situational football things. Little minor tweaks, man. Just small tweaks. And you know what? You can run those bubble screens, just don't spam them. If you just don't, and I would strongly advise you don't do that in the first drive of the game, because they know that that's something that we like to do, so they game planned for it, and people will understand why don't we score more touchdowns in the first quarter or first drive of a game. It's not that we're I don't even want to say it's predictability, because some of the formations and how we run the play is different. It's a screen. And they know that, and they know that we like to do that. It's a quick passing offense. The Patriots do it. Again, they just do it at a higher level. They execute it at a higher level, and they do it in situations. They don't do it just to do it, if you know what I'm trying to say. And I don't even think any of that what I just said made any sense, but basically what I'm trying to say is, let's lay off the screens. Alright, let's get into the injuries, dude, because we've had a lot of them. Dolphins have lost. This comes from Dolphins Wire. Dolphins have lost their second starting offensive lineman for the season. Daniel Kilgore suffered a torn triceps during the team's game against the Patriots. It is expected that Kilgore will be replaced, will be placed on injured reserve and will miss the rest of the 2018 season. Travis Swanson replaced Kilgore during the second quarter of Sunday's 38-7 loss to the Patriots in a shotgun formation. Swanson snapped the ball past quarterback Ryan Tannehill's head as the Patriots ended up recovering the football. Huge loss for us. One of the reasons I was happy that we got him is he is a durable player, and Mike Pouncey was not. So, he's less talented than Mike was, but at least he would be there every Sunday. And unfortunately, we have lost him for the remainder of the season. Travis Swanson, for the most part, other than him literally just throwing a meteor at Ryan Tannehill, I don't think it was really over his head as much as he just snapped. He threw that with so much heat, dude. And that's on both the center and the quarterback, but the heck was I about to say? I didn't feel like he didn't, but other than that, I feel like he played pretty well. And he's a veteran. He's got a lot of experience. I don't think we're going to lose that much with him under center. Or at center, not under center. There's a whole bunch of more stuff about how the national media has turned on the Dolphins. When were they ever on our side, and when did they ever talk about us? When did that ever happen? I miss that. There's a tweet here from Stephen A. Smith who doesn't listen. Stick to crap and bat. I don't even. I hate watching that. That show sucks in my opinion, but I'm not even gonna get into that. What the heck was I about to say? Stephen A. Tweeted, this was literally in the news story, I'm not even going to read the rest of it, but he tweeted, I don't want to hear another word about the Dolphins. Who was telling you about us? I don't watch ESPN, so maybe they were, but I doubt it. Who was saying it? Like, shut up, dude. Shut up. Guess, by the way, somebody remind him, guess who's still first place in the AFC East? We are. So, just chill out there. Alright, let's get into another injury. This really sucks. This is a huge hit. Bobby McCain out 2 to 3 weeks with a knee injury. This is a huge hit because we play a really good offense this upcoming Sunday and the Cincinnati Bengals, and they have a lot of good receivers, and their number one weapon and who's been doing the most damage to defense is Tyler Boyd, who, guess what, plays in the slot. So Minkah Fitzpatrick, guess who you're going to have for the entire game? We have to do that. So Minkah has got to play in Tyler Boyd because he's been a huge part of their success. And AJ, Xavier Howard. And I guess that's it's not as bad as I was thinking. I guess it's not that bad now that I think about it, but it's still not great. It's not a good situation at all. It's not as good as it could be, is what I mean. CBS Miami Dolphins still in first place, but hardly look like AFC's best teams. These are some of the headlines that I put up here. It is what it is, dude. But guess what? We're still first place. Everybody's acting like we just lost the entire season, dude. Everybody's like, let's jump ship. Get out of here. Granted, you know what? We deserve it. Because we literally went out there and lost 38 to 7. That's unacceptable, but it's not that bad. Okay, everybody gets, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody when they go up there gets their teeth kicked in. Ask Big Ben over the last 3 or 4 years. He'll tell you. Ask Deshaun Watson, who those games were more competitive. Still high-scoring games, they still lost those games. Ask anybody who goes up there. Marcus Mariota in the playoffs. Get their teeth kicked in. I mean, it happens, dude. Everybody loses to the Patriots up there. And I'm not saying that's an excuse, because guess what? It isn't. We still should be. They're still a football team. This is still football. Play better. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not like we're the only ones that happens to. This is probably the most negative. I don't think I've said anything positive about anybody thus far. Because there isn't anything in this pertaining to that particular game. There isn't. Hopefully when the fan Q&A comes around, we'll get into some more positive things. But this is an interesting news story. This comes from Armando Salguero. Why the Dolphins should trade for Le'Veon Bell. He's a little crazy too. He's talking about how this would save the season. Like, we're 3-1. But this is very complex and difficult. This is very complex and difficult. Should be on the Dolphins' radar because it might actually help. This is what he says: save a season while it can still be saved. Do you know how many teams would kill to be 3-1 right now in the National Football League? The Dolphins are 3-1 right now. They are coming off of a terrible defeat. I'll give you that. It's one loss. And this is what, if I was Adam, this is what I'd be preaching in that locker room. Guys, it's one loss. I know we got our teeth kicked in. It doesn't matter. You want this to continue to snowball, you'll continue to think about it and feel sorry for yourself. Forget about it, dude. It's one game. There's so many of these to go. It's so early on in the season. The Dolphins are 3-1 right now. They are coming off of a terrible defeat. Yeah. And I believe this is the worst defeat in the Adam Gase era. I would say so. Yeah, because of the ramifications of it. But there've obviously been worse losses. But in terms of score. But what you're going to hear, and this is kind of sad to say, to be honest with you. But what you're going to hear out of the coach and the team the next week, leading into next Sunday game at Cincinnati, is this is the only game, and it's time to recover, and it's time to go to work and improve. And I totally agree. This is from the article. This is from Armando Salguero. It's time to go to work and improve. And it's okay. When does the Le'Veon Bell part kick in? Now about that complex. What the heck? Okay, here we go. This cannot be Mike Tannenbaum or Chris Greer calling the Steelers and saying, "Hey, we'd like to take Le'Veon Bell off your hands," because first off, they cannot afford him right now. Bell put on the trade block only last week, per national reports, as Pittsburgh's franchise player. The franchise tag designation on him is $14 million, and we do not have enough salary cap for that. But according to overthecap.com, they can afford it starting October 23rd, when Bell's cap charge will be in line. Alright, so I thought this was an interesting story, which is so stupid it's not even funny. Like, why do we need him? I agree, he's one of the best running backs in the National Football League. He's one of those special players. I give that to you, but we don't need him. We have two really good running backs that aren't getting the ball right now, and hopefully that will change in the near future. And again, granted, run blocking been terrible, but 14 carries between two people, not enough. It literally on first down, run the ball. That should have been the game plan, man. I don't care if we're getting hit in the back. Guess what? Second down, we're trying to pick up first downs. We're not rinky-dink, and throwing screens. That's not even dinking and dunking. Because at least there's no other routes to be ran on the play. Adam Gase should have known this, by the way. The Patriots play assignment football. That's what they do. They play man-to-man the entire game. They play assignment football. It's very hard to run trick plays on them. It's very hard to trick them because of that. Because we hear it all the time, do your job, What they're talking about is you are focused on one thing. You don't have to focus about what Steve's doing across from you or Todd's doing next to you. You just do what your assignment is. And it's very hard to run a screen when a team plays that way. I lost my train of thought. The heck were we talking about? Oh yeah, Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, dude, we don't run the ball anyway right now. What the heck do we need Le'Veon Bell for? We don't need him. And plus, we would only be rinsing him for a few games because he's gonna be a free agent. And are we gonna pay him $100 million to be our running back? Probably not. Probably not. By the way, I was thinking about this as we transition into fan Q&A. I want to talk about two things before we get into that. I'm trying to hurry this up because I wanted to get to everybody's questions. We're on to Cincinnati, as far as I'm concerned, and that's not even a joke. People are like, "Oh, how do you get beat?" Dude, the Patriots got destroyed against the Bengals so bad that some idiot in the press conference said, "Hey, you want to evaluate the quarterback position?" That's how bad that loss was. And guess what? Guess who they played the next week? Cincinnati. I just was thinking about that. I was like, that's interesting. Hopefully we can do the same thing that they did and just go on to Cincinnati. But I thought that was interesting. Also, I wanted to talk about the refs. I feel like they're doing a terrible job this year. This is literally worse, in my opinion. It's not as big, and people aren't talking about it as much, but the replacement refs, some of the calls that have been called, and not just in our game. If you guys watched that Cleveland Browns-Raiders game, what the heck was that, dude? The Cleveland Browns literally got robbed out of a win. Seriously. They literally got robbed. That's not even an exaggeration. There was a play where they blew the whistle way too quick. Derek Carr clearly fumbled the ball. They clearly were going to pick it up and run it into the end zone. I've never seen anything like that. And then obviously there was a couple, the spot at the end of the game. That was terrible. That is clearly a first down. Calls in the Patriots game, calls in the Raiders game when we play the Raiders. That almost cost us that victory. It's very, very upsetting, dude. People are talking about how you can't sack the quarterback anymore and stuff of that nature. The thing that ticks me off the most is how they officiate receivers and defensive backs. If Alshon Jeffrey puts his hand under your throat and like Mortal Kombat Scorpion snaps your spine in half, okay, they don't call offensive pass interference almost never. But if you sniff or sneeze on a receiver, that's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. I cannot stand how they officiate that. It is so annoying. So annoying, dude. I cannot stand it. Cannot stand it. It makes me sick, dude. Makes me sick. I would be everybody's favorite ref. If I was a ref, dude, you would actually have to be pass interference for me to throw that flag. These refs suck. They suck, dude. They're so bad. And listen, commentators, lay into these idiots, bro, when they do mess up. I hate when I'm watching a game and they're like, we sit here and criticize players for messing up. Dude, the refs are people too. How about just punch them in? Bring them down to earth, dude. They never get criticized. It's ridiculous. Alright, let's get into the fan Q&A. This is where fans ask questions and we answer them from the Dolphins community, obviously, hence the name fan Q&A. This first question comes from David. He says, why is Tannehill constantly without backs? Teams are catching up to our play calling, which besides gimmicks is very predictable. Is Gase too stubborn to recognize his own weakness? I don't think he's stubborn. I don't think he doesn't recognize the weakness. I felt like, hey, listen, anytime you go into a game thinking something's going to work, you truly think it's going to work. Regardless if I disagree with it or somebody else disagrees with it, you think this is going to give your team the best chance to win. He was just wrong, and he could have been right. He's been right many times before. So it's just one of those situations where I messed up. People mess up. It happens. That doesn't mean it was right. And that doesn't mean we can't sit here and be upset about it, but I don't think this is a pattern by any stretch of the imagination. This is the same guy who had our offense rolling against the Raiders if it wasn't for the refs who were wearing silver and black. This is the same guy who's called crucial plays in the first two victories of the season. So it's not a pattern. He's a very good play caller. But there are certain things that just the game plan sucked, dude. It happens, bro. It was very difficult. But is he too stubborn to recognize his own weaknesses? No, I don't think that. I think he's very honest, brutally honest with himself. He said in his press conference that he needs to run the football more. He also said that last week. So, but he said that many times since he's been here. But it is what it is. We should have done that, but we didn't do it. And you know what? That has a lot to do with having so much faith in Tannehill. If this was Jay Cutler and we were going to, I guarantee you would have ran the football more. That's what we did on Monday Night Football, or was it Sunday? It was Monday Night Football. That probably had a lot to do with Jay Cutler being who he was. So, Corporate Gamer Incorporated asks, what do we need to do better to be them when we play them to beat the Patriots when we play them in Miami is what you meant to say there. I'm sorry about that. What do we need to do better? Just run the football better. Be more balanced attack. Keep them off their heels. Don't let them have 8 defensive backs and 3 down linemen on a consistent basis. Do your best not to put yourself in those situations with stupid penalties. Do your best. Hopefully we get to the refs before, Bill Belichick hands his envelope, paying off the refs is what I was trying to say. It's a joke. They obviously don't do that, but, some terrible calls on Sunday. I think it's just a combination of got to do a better job with our front four, got to do a better job with our front on offense as well. And I think that's the key to beating them. But on defense, you just can't cover for that long, especially against Tom, and especially when the Red Sea is his pocket, and you're not going to win any game doing that. But and obviously on offense, we just got to do a better job of being more balanced. This question comes from Gamerific. He says, this one comes from Cameron Saunders. He says, does this game show RT17's true colors? That he can't push the ball down the field. Don't give him the same old quote, nobody was open. My opinion here is that RT17 is not a quarterback that can lift, that can fit a ball into tight windows. You need that ability to do so, or the confidence to. This is the essence why I feel a quarterback drafted sometime in the near future with the qualities and characteristics that I just described needs to happen. Tannehill is by far not a bad quarterback. He just lacks the tools we need a quarterback to have to beat elite teams. No, I disagree with that completely. I disagree with your criticisms of Tannehill. Did he need to be played? Like what I said earlier on in the podcast. Cameron, is that your name? Yeah, Cameron. I feel like, I guess we're kind of saying the same thing, except I'm not saying throw it into, quadruple coverage and try to fit it in there. Dude, watch if you. I'm not trying to give him this excuse. Watch the game, and every snap in that game on offense, and you'll see what I'm talking. There was nobody open, dude. And the scheme and the plays that we were running, they weren't bad. They literally were not bad. They were man-beating play. I mean, those plays, you should beat man coverage with those plays, but we just didn't do it. My criticism of him, he just needs to be more of a playmaker, and not in the way you're talking about. He just needs to make more plays with his legs, break the pocket, extend plays. Also, Adam Gase needs to give him, in this offense, more area to make up some of those big penalties. Second and or third and 10, third and 15. I don't care if it's third and 15. Try to pick it up, dude. You have to. I cannot listen. And Adam's coming at it from a perspective of most big defensive plays come on third and long. Sack fumbles, sacks to make punts harder, interceptions. Tannehill's smart enough. Listen, if he takes a sack, he takes a sack. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. And it's way easier to get a sack on third and 15. Don't get me wrong, but you at least have to try. Is what I'm trying to say. And most defensive coordinators, they don't blitz on third and long anymore. They just drop everybody back on the sticks. So, and again, my point, I disagree with the whole characteristics thing. He has everything. I've seen him make throws and make plays like that for this team and be that playmaker. He just wasn't that. I mean, the Steelers game in 2016, there's so many games that I could point out where he just made that one play that just tilted the game in our favor. I really don't think he doesn't. I don't think he does not possess those abilities, because he does. I've seen him do it multiple times, so I know he does. It has nothing to do with consistency either. It just he just didn't do them. He didn't try to when he should have. This question comes from Gamerific. He says, Ryan looked frustrated in the press conference. Can you say how many yards Ryan gets? I don't know how many he'll get against the Bengals, but yeah, I would be frustrated too if I was him. I'm sure he's mad at himself. I'm sure he's mad at the entire situation. As a competitor, if you're a competitive person, that kind of stuff kills you. It kills you. Kills you. Kills you. Can turn you into a different person in that moment. You get so upset at what's happening, you can't even control yourself. And you see that a lot with Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. That's the great example of that, is just being overly competitive and not being able to. And Tom Brady too, he does it all the time. Just not being able to keep your composure. This question comes from TR3MC. I don't know. He says, where was the playbook on offense and defense? Totally outcoached on both sides. I agree with that. I don't know about defense. I feel like there had nothing to do with schematic or coaching. It was just players being god-awful. But on offense, yeah, the game plan was very, very bad. TR3MC. Nothing face OXX or 0XX. He says, do you think Miami should start Do you think Miami would be smart to maybe trade Drake and a draft pick for Le'Veon Bell? No. Kenyon's not getting the ball, dude. Like, he's just not getting it. He got it 3 times in this past game. Bad Bandit asks, his question is, do you still believe in Parker? In 4 games, he has given us 2 catches. It feels like the guy is made out of paper. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. I don't know why he didn't play. I guess his broken finger was acting up. I don't understand why he didn't play in Sunday's game. I really don't, but he didn't. And hopefully he comes back healthy against the Bengals. That's all I can say. But he's just not on the field right now. This is his biggest issue. Take me out. He says, I'm not a RT hater. Think he's a decent starter, but obviously a system guy. But not a guy who will get you a win with the big boys. This is the reason we get blown out of these types of games. Not the only reason, but a major factor. Do Finns make a major push for a big-time college quarterback next year? Let go of T. Hill's contract and fill the gap for a season with a top flight quarterback for a season who gives you similar middle-of-the-road results like T. Hill. Enjoy your commentary. Appreciate that. Take me out. I disagree with that. I think people are. Maybe you're not over it. I don't know how you feel about him in other games. I guess just what you're saying. I don't think he's a system quarterback. I think he's a very good quarterback. System quarterbacks like Alex Smith and not Alex Smith. I feel like he gets a bad rap too. I don't even know who is a system quarterback in the National Football League. I mean, there are quarterbacks that get carried by their team, like Bortles. But it's very hard to be a system quarterback and win in the National Football League. You have to actually be good at your job. You do have to bring an extra something else to the job. You really do. I don't think Tannehill has ever been carried by his football team. There might have been some games in his past where the defense stepped up, but certainly not in 2016, where every game was a shootout. The defense was giving up so many points in that season. But I just disagree with that. I do not think that, if you look at 2016, you're talking about how he's never beat big time teams. I mean, he's done that plenty of times in his career. He's beaten, or played well against better or very good football teams. I mean, he's beaten the Patriots multiple times. I mean, I just don't understand, like, if he beats the Patriots, then is he still that guy? Or is he the guy that is the franchise quarterback? He loses 1 game, and he's not that anymore. The criticisms I gave him are the criticisms I give him. I just disagree with you. Fundamentally on that he's a system guy. I don't think he is. Emmanuel Toga says, what's going to happen to the secondary without McCain? Can Minka play boundary? Don't tell me he's only going to snaps when we aren't on base and have McTire on tank playing 100% of the snaps while Minka's on the bench. All this assuming Jones is back. I think what you're going to see tomorrow in this next game is just him on Boyd the entire game. J Rose says, why didn't we make any adjustments? And that question came from Emmanuel. Okay, in case I messed that up. J Rose says, why did we make any adjustments after the first half? Physically, they're not better than us, but mentally, they out-schemed us left to right. The game is on our coaching staff. I think next time we play them, we gotta set a standard. Like, you have to be more physical, guys. You cannot go into a game like that playing like that. You have to be way more physical than we were. On defense, I think that will be fixed with Rashad Jones, assuming he's playing, and I think that would have been fixed if we ran the football more, but we didn't. We didn't tire out their defensive line. I mean, they were throwing out. We never ran the football. It was just pass blocking, screen. Their defense was, they never got hit. I can tell you that right now. Their defense, nobody was hitting them that entire game. This question comes from Will. He asks, he says, do you think the teams let the success get to their head? No. Christopher says, big brother reminded little brother why he's the little brother. What was the key factor in today's beatdown? Game plan. I really do feel that way. I just feel like the game plan was not sufficient enough. Will says, do you think it's time for Gates to stop calling plays or sharing more play calling responsibilities with the offensive coordinator? It's worked with other offensive masterminds in the past, Mike McCarthy. No, I don't think that. I think I've never agreed with that. I think if the reason you got the job is because of your play calling, then you need to call plays. I've always believed that. Euro says, what's going on with our offense? We literally start every game going 3 and out, even on those ones we win. They can't happen if you want to beat New England, period. I think it's a combination of punting the ball on 3rd and 10, or third and long. You basically punting it, throwing a screen. You can't do that. We have to be more aggressive in those situations. I think that has a lot to do with why our 3rd down conversion rate is so bad. And again, Adam's excuse for that is we got to be better on 1st and 2nd down. I agree with him, we do. But if we do find ourselves in that situation, you can't just concede. Will says, what is the Devontae Parker's problem? He's usually eats against the Patriots. Where was he? I know us fans are starting to lose our patience with him. Yeah, dude, I don't know where he was, man. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Hopefully somebody knows. Will says, I know it's not the only reason we lost, but do you think that this team can consistently get past the refs ruining our momentum? Which really bothers me because they seem to always go after dumb penalties and penalties of no calls on others. Raiders game and the Bucs game last season. Yeah, it's everybody, dude. The Cleveland Browns literally got robbed of the game. These refs suck. They got to do it. If I was the commissioner, I'd get everybody in the building saying, "You see this? That's stupid. Don't do that ever again, or you're fired." You cannot call defensive pass interference in some of these. It's ridiculous, especially when the pass is so uncatchable. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. This question comes from LMG 1269. He says, do you think Tannehill will bounce back against a good Bengals team? One thing I've noticed about Cincinnati is their defense. Everybody's raving about they got good Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap. They got good players on it. Draker Patrick, William Jackson, Bates, who's been a good player for them, a good young player for them. But I've watched them quite a lot this season, and a lot of everybody who's played them has been able to score on them. So I think we should have definitely a better game, that's for sure. But they've given up a lot of points over these last few weeks. Adam or something. He's ADOM. Adam. Why could we not get any throws off on the Patriots defense? Did they get better, or are our wide receivers that good to man-to-man, or not that good to man-to-man? I think our receivers got to hit the weight room for sure after that. Dude, their defense is so bad. It's honestly disgusting that we went out there and only scored basically nothing. So, yeah, we just a bad performance, bad game plan. Bad game plan. Michael McKay says, can't have a bunch of number 3 and 4 wide receivers out and expect to win. They just did not play very well, and the game plan wasn't great either. Gamer Fixes, do you think we're going to beat? Who do you think we're going to beat? I never predict games. Bad Bandit says, I finally get why no one talks about us, and we get some momentum, and people start to wonder about us. Then we go back to the same old and get downright humiliated. Why us? I don't think that's, dude. They won't talk about anybody. I don't understand it. There are teams out there that are popular that have bad losses, and the national media will just give so many excuses for them because they like them. They don't like us. Jay says, simple question, what happened, dude? That's what we've been going over the last hour. Gamer Fixes, whose fault was it mainly that we lost the game, or was it? I think it was a combination of everything, but I would probably say Adam Gase, to be honest. Well, I hate saying that because the players are the players, but I feel like the game plan was just not there offensively. Thomas says, we need to stop running it on 2nd and 10, 9 and plus. I totally agree with. There's nothing worse than a 2nd and 10 run play. There's nothing worse than that. Corporate Gamer says, how did they shut down all of our receivers? Assignment football, really. Bad Bandit says, is Gase to blame No. Douglas says, what the heck was Devontae? I don't know. I don't know where he was. That is going to be it, guys, for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. Today, this game was just nothing but bad.